Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, with a topic about sex. It's from the point of view of an older woman. Hello out there. I hope you are enjoying your new year as we itch our way through it and inch our way through it as well. It is a mixed feelings for everyone, I am sure, on how this year will be with this COVID vaccination, which still has not gotten extreme praise, but they are trying. And they were looking forward to having a herd healing effect, whereas, herd immunity, if there is a large number of people who are immune from a particular virus, illness, sickness, whatever you want to call it, then they will also be able to populate that into, other people and grouping. It's just like catching a cold. If you're in a group of people, someone's going to catch a cold if you have a cold. So, but with that being said and done, do not let that get you down, because sex is still always going to be sex. And it is gone, or has gone, and is gone, extremely digital. Granted, a lot of people are still out there, wanting to get their groove on and still quarantined, or whatever you might look at, because the numbers are still coming in with cases being found, developed, or whatever you want to call them, and deaths, unfortunately, for those. And my heart goes out for you. So if sex and dating and all of that, just the simple stuff has been blowing up our internet, why can't BDSM? You don't always have to be in person for this. They are adjusting as well. Lovely dominatrix and dominatrix. Oh, what do you call for the guy? That dominating person, and the submissiveness is still there as well. Obviously, our sex workers, deviants, debauched, and perverted are not strangers to any technology or latest technology or advancement in order to make their sex career keep going and to build it. Granted, they probably built a bigger following and dossier through technology. Cameras. Yeah, we have webcams, cameras on like everything. We have cameras on these days, from the teeniness to giant cameras. So what you do with them is completely up to you. But then again, be real, if they get out or somebody hacks in and it is out, well, you might have some splaining to do. But even like back in the day, like a really long time ago with the sex workers, which is basically expensive answering phone systems. And they would get on there and talk dirty, and you paid by the minute, which is probably still there. They've just moved it up in technology, but if that's all you want to listen to, those are still available as well. Obviously, they do need to move and groove with the times, so online has been able to, being able to have things, programs like PayPal and things like that, whereas they can now be verified and their financial transaction or their sexual transaction go online now. And granted, this and other like Vimo and Zinio, I think one is it? No, not Zinio. What's the other one that begins with a Z? And there are a lot of them out there now, which you can probably do through your bank. But if you want a little bit of privacy of your own, when your bank statement is not showing up a pile of paid for sex calls or internet, so you do it that do it through other means. But yet, giving them this has allowed that dominant and submissive relationship to take on a new form. Also, having a VR helmet, like virtual reality, it just blows it up, because not only can that dominatrix or the opposite of it, submissive individual, you got like real life, that feeling, that what's it called? That illusion. That's the word I was looking for. Illusion. It's that VR helmet, which has programs that go in it and that you can use. They're using it in more ways, in which the submissives can be cajoled, controlled, and obedient. And there's a myriad of new ways that this can be done. Obviously, they are embracing this new technology. And remember, you always have a safe word. Doesn't matter in person or not, safe word. One way they're doing this through is the webcams, like I said. You have Skype, you have, what are the other ones? Google Meeting, you have Microsoft Teams. Granted, that's business, and I don't know how far you want to go with that one, but if it is your personal, that is your own business. Zoom meetings and things like that. And you only need, that naughty session, and you can have it with as many as you want. But generally, I like to go with the 2. Obviously, with BDSM, the dominants will post videos on clip posting websites so that you can see these, and they're available to you to watch. And it's really weird, because some sex workers are not really too keen on going, on camera, because, hey, they're there when they took on that job, and all they wanted to do was sex talk on the phone. You don't know what's on the other line of it. However, they did find that with the webcamming, it came in handy when, if something personal happened to them, they got sick, hurt themselves, or, couldn't go and actually sit up there and do things, or do their actual in-person business this way. It's able to bring that in. And while you're in there, the program is going to make it so that you're not hurt at all anyway. So, and it's really good because with the webcam, this also not only the dominant, the submissive is much more willing to go onto camera themselves with the webcam. And while they're there, the dominant can order them to use like an array of objects around them and what's just right there, instead of, if you're in person and you're actually just using what they have, they can actually see what you have, what's around you, and they can order you to do things there. And then they'll watch for their own pleasure. So it does cost a little bit. This is in Lira, so I think we double it. I'm not exactly sure. So $3 in Lira is like, what, $5 in American? Not very good on the conversion. So look it up. It is teleconferencing from the porn world. And believe it or not, one of the first major investors in this was Playboy. So you go, Hugh. Now, moving that webcam a little bit more in advance to remote access. And for those of you who do not know what remote access is, it's when your computer, you give somebody else access from where they are to control it. So they actually have the upper hand on your computer. There's more gain for them. And one of the actual dominations, or dominatrix, the pioneers of this technology, or they call it tech domination, is Mistress Harley. So she's one of the ones that felt that, here you go, this would be very beneficial, and has worked to making it better. She is a financial dominatrix, tech suave queen from the Silicon Valley. If you know who she is, do look her up. Now, this is coming from the side of the submissive. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to asking for services from her and they're using remote, a client will beg her to dominate their computer and let her take control of their devices. And then and this is because, you have to download a remote access software before she can even do this, or whoever you have as your dominant can do this. You have to download it onto your computer and give them the code, and they're going to kick in. You have to allow them to do it. Now, what she does is, in order to dominate the computer, because you give her access, she will download a keylogger. And this is where it gives her all this access to your password, even your banking information. So, this all has to be consensual, because this is sensitive information. Okay? She also will, before she does anything, discuss the limits beforehand. And once whoever the submissive is, the client, has paid her, that's when she goes to work, basically. Now, this is allowing her to dominate your computer as well as you sexually through it. This is a particular kink, and it's for those who like to be blackmailed and forced into submission. It's also giving you where a lot of people will enjoy the extorted, up in the humiliation. She's able to do this for you, And, there are like little things like dressing in women's clothes and the like. Just little things which she can do. And there, believe it or not, she has a hall of shame. And this is where she takes pictures and videos on your computer by your webcam, and you have to pay for them to be removed. So that's where the blackmail comes in. So this is all a control, and you have to, this is all consensual. If you do not consent, please do not do. Our second point in technology for BDSM and how it is getting so big is through apps. Come on. If Google Android, Google, Samsung, you name it, Apple has a weird app or any kind of app, they're going to have a sex app. Why not let it be the dominant one? And on that note, and keeping you hanging on, I am going to take my first break in the show. So, before I return, please get a drink, get a snack, come back, get relaxed, and I will meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back. I hope you are nice and cozy, and how many of you have already gone out there to look up a dominant so that you could webcam? That is what it is there for. And with COVID, I think it would be that much more better. Double oxymoron there. So they, because now we're going to move into not, going from the point of you having to download or having an app like Skype or meetings or Zoom, whereas you will have your meetings there. You can move this further along where you now have access software with the dominant can take over your computer and you live out your fantasy that way, or they can control you that way. Remember, all consensual, and don't forget, always have a safe word, because not only in person, that safe word is there for when you are not in person as well. Now, we left off where, BDSM is, we're moving right along through technology, and what else and they are doing. Obviously, we have the little handheld technologies, our phones that are so advanced now that obviously there's got to be apps. You got dating apps. Why not have BDSM apps? And there are a couple that they actually speak of here. And one is Kinked, Kinkd, and the other the other is threesomer. And that is 3, the number 3, S as in Sam, OMR. However, when you go into your app store, it's actually spelled differently. So there is an E in that. And when looking up the reviews on these, you're getting, there were better reviews on the threesomer than there were on Kinked. The reviews from Kinked was very difficult having, once you sign up for it, because both of these you have to sign up for. A lot of people were having difficulties after signing up, where it will either lock them out and will not take your password or anything. I don't know what the makers are doing with regards to this. Hopefully they're fixing this for, for those of you interested in doing it. If you want to try it, it might not happen on your computer. It might not happen on your phone. The other is the threesomer, obviously, is about having threesomes. And I think there was only one review that did not, where the individual stated that had something with regards to gender identity within it and how it did not support that. So I think that was the only one that I saw that was like kind of sort of negative. But all the rest, people were very, very happy with it. That particular app over Kinked. Again, there are a ton out there. Do look them up, go into your app store. These, you're going to pick which one benefits you the most and what works for you. And you might find it quite different than what those individuals found. I think on Kinked, it had a lot of issues with regards to if you messaged somebody. At least this is what the reviews said. If you messaged somebody, there were no responses. I don't know if that was on the point of the person not wanting to respond to them, or the fact that there was a glitch in the app. And then, obviously, the issue with the password. There are people who are out there thinking just like you, and a better way to get, in touch. You have your regular dating apps, POF, Match, all of those. Those are out there. You even have ones that have to do with, if you want to date a millionaire or something. I think there's something out there like that too. So it's really interesting what you find out when you do research and what is readily available. But the first 2 I mentioned are quite highly known, and those you see everywhere. And I'm assured that probably everybody out there has tried them. If not, hey, maybe it's something new for you. I don't know. Maybe you got it going for you. You never really had to do that. I don't know, but there are those individuals who have to, or not have to, but need to find a different way to meet somebody. Now, with this app, obviously, you got to be open, because you're able to actually connect with other kink lovers. It provides a handy, proving handy for tech-savvy dominants, obviously. Financial dominants have apps where you can download for a lot of money, and they really don't do anything. So please be aware. Don't get caught up in, this is technology, and there are scammers around every corner. So this is one of the issues with it. When it comes to technology, make sure that you have, you've done your homework. You researched, you've done all of this, and you are actually working with that individual. Because there are a lot of apps out there that do absolutely zilch, and I don't want you to lose money out on that. please, because like I said, it's not a pretty scene. And some of these are very, very expensive. Like, for instance, I Am Rich is an app, and this is $1,000 lira. So that's going to be at least $1,500 to $2,000 in American. And they're finding it not to be like worth that amount of money. I can't see going out and paying that amount of money and just for this, unless you know for a fact that app works. And like I'm hoping that app had an option at one point in time where you could just do a demo first, and then if you decided you wanted to buy it, you bought it. And sometimes when you buy these sex apps or apps in general, the demo works amazingly, and then when you get into the app, that's where all the trouble begins, the minute you pay. So remember that as well. Now there's another app out there, or another BDSM technology or computer service, what is from Bitcoin mining. Obviously, this particular company has been around for a very long time. I guess the sex workers a long time ago were forced to use cryptocurrency. When companies like PayPal would refuse their service to go through and get paid through that, say they didn't want to be associated with sex. But then they turned around and said, hey, we'll do it. And believe it or not, it made them obviously very rich, because there is lucrative money in this. I want to give you a brief summary of what some of them dominants are doing through Bitcoin. And this is how it is. What they do is the submissive will download a tool, and which will use their computer to the dominant for Bitcoins on the internet. And then funnel it into a dominant's digital wallet. Now, there is one dominatrix who does use this, and this is Mistress Theodora, and she's been using this for ages, and she gets paid this way regularly. So sometimes it's a very tiny amount, but the more traffic that the dominant gets, obviously, the more money there will be in that. And you get, some people out there will use donations, also have other people mining for them, where they're recruiting for them. It's almost like a sales pitch, in which they get more and more and more and more and more in. And I hate to put a stigma or a stereotype, but a lot of individuals who are considered geeks are clients to this, because they really know, they like the new technology, they want to be taught how to use it, and they'll go out and build these mining rigs for whoever, these dominants who are out there. Now, moving along in a major technological advancement with smart homes. Now, in a smart home, obviously nowhere is safe, because it is alive. It's alive! Your house is alive. And what happens with these are, and you have Alexa, you have it where they can, Alexa can control your lights, can control your TV, can control the oven, can control everything in the home. You have Samsung out there who also has their own program. So you're basically allowing, with these extra added on products, for control, that dominant, to be able to control even your home remotely. And they do everything. They can do different things with your doorbell, your lights, your sound system. You're giving them the control. And, but you have to give them permission, obviously. There's one example here that it's with Mistress Harley, who has a submissive for whom she controls the home for, and regularly blasts Wagner, which is, I think, a show, it's either a show or a song, over the sound system of the submissive to indicate that she wants him or her at her beck and call. So, they have the ability to lock you into your house with this particular software. If you have a refrigerator, make sure, and if it's on smart, connected to the smart home, she can control that too. So if she locks you inside and then locks your refrigerator, you're kind of screwed. So unless this is what, this is what your game is, and this is what your role-playing in BDSM is. So, but you're giving this person, this dominate, to control that. So they basically tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it within your own home. And everything is sexual to them. You gotta remember how, if one person can do it and they have access to all this stuff, and if something goes wrong, depending on how vindictive that individual is, you might want to think about it. But if you're very free and open to this and you allow them to have remote access, just make sure that, there are expectations there, what is expected, safe word, and the like. And on that note, I'm going to take a break, and which you can, if you want, replenish that drink, replenish that snack, come back, get relaxed. But if you're thinking on how you are going to be dominated this evening, hey, sit there. If you're looking up those apps and downloading them, continue on. And I will meet you back here for more sex talk with Andra.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. And welcome back to close to the end of the show. This is our third segment in the show, where we're talking about, how BDSM has gone technologically savvy and maintaining. Now remember, even though it is going through technology and the computer and webcam, all this, you can still be anonymous. That's one of the good things about it. However, I can't stress it enough that you maintain somewhat of control, only because, know what you're doing. Educate yourself about it first. Also, do communicate your expectations of what you are looking for and what is to happen, and maintain a safe word. Does it make a difference if it's in person or over the computer? You are allowing that person to have complete access, and sometimes total access, where they are controlling it. Your home, your computer, your everything. And you really do not know sometimes who is posing and who is not. And remember, you are paying for this service. And it's not just the little sex phone call that you call up and you have somebody breathe heavy on the other line of the phone until you masturbate and get your kicks and have that orgasm. Sex technology has come a very long way. So remember that as well. And talking about paying for sex, I think that at least 85% or more, I'm being quite reserved, probably in that amount, of individuals, unfortunately, mainly men, will pay for sex. I think they're a little bit more comfortable with it than a woman would do. And, a few men have discussed this, whereas what is the situation and how many times that they have paid for sex? Does it have to be a dominant? No, just sex in general. And a lot of them will come where it is like you have one individual who came in and discusses how he has particular escorts that he will see, or this particular escort will see exclusively through media, through their own private website, or, recommendations of other providers. There is that physical intimacy that is still a major factor, but it doesn't become a sexual thing for this individual anymore. And they have found that sex workers have been able to enable a zone, a safe haven, where he can, it's because there's so much stress out in the world today, especially what's going on now, and I completely understand. He's able to expose himself both physically and emotionally, and which is free from criticism, judgment, and ridicule. So he does pay for that. Obviously, there is physical intimacy, the kissing, the caressing of the body, the oral pleasure of both parties, and obviously penetrative sex. But, sometimes, and most often at times, it's not just sex, as this individual explains. Having that social relationship is very powerful. And going to dinner, go to a movie, just taking a walk. It is, when you're with, he explains how that, in the beginning, you're getting with this person, the first thing you're thinking about is obviously the sex. But as this relationship has gone on with this individual and him, it's more of sharing an intimate experience without any of those commitments or long-term expectations, which is a very good thing in this situation. And at one time or another, this individual could probably go out and will meet somebody, but at that point, they will be very, very comfortable within themselves to do so. Right now, they just kind of sort of want that bit of happiness intimately and physically at times, someone. And it's become a learning experience for him. Whereas, like these women have taught him about life, love, happiness in different ways. So it's really, really good. It's funny because it's not funny because he talks about how only the parties know who the providers in the sexual health clinic, is. But it's really, making sure that you're screening, making sure that, you're on the same wavelength and all that good stuff like that is very, very important. We have another individual who talks about how he's paid for sex and how many times that he does. This individual is a divorced, granted these individuals are from out of the country. However, I'm sure that this happens here in America. Oh, the good old USA. However, other countries are just more relaxed about their sexual exploration. Here, we're still trying to keep it on the down low, even though we have experienced a lot and we have brought it out a lot more. But this individual discusses how he's divorced and he's a single father, and that, that option of going out, and there are a lot of single mothers and single fathers out there that know this feeling. And he stated how he actually approached one woman that he knew and wanted to have an on-call with her, and she actually refused him because I guess they lived in this village where too many people knew who she was, and she didn't want to be seen with them. So, you're not only unable to go out to the bar to pick up somebody or even meet somebody or even go and socialize to meet somebody, you have somebody who's quote unquote a friend who turns around and does this to you. They don't want to be seen with you. I find that very, very rude. But I can't hold that individual because it is their life that they are living. So I have to respect it, sexually or not. He's been single for over 5 years. Wants that touch of, it comes back to that touch of another human. So now he actually buys it when he wants it. He will pay for sex. And he knows that with that individual, he is not being judged or anything. I guess because he's older, he does take medications. And it has that effect of that drop in libido, taking the medicines. A real heavy effect on your libido, especially blood pressure meds. A lot of people stop taking it. The opposite effect of that is you gain and it's very bad for your body. Don't do that. There are other things out there. Please do discuss your sexual relations with your doctor so he or she can help you. Obviously, other meds, he's lost a good portion of size in his genital, which he is not very happy with, kind of ashamed of. But, you try, he can't, he's having difficulties even explaining that. He's afraid to go and which in this way I understand what he's talking about. But if he's meeting somebody for the first time and they know no different of his penis size, then I don't think it would be an issue, because they're taking you as they have met you and stuff like that, so you can actually find different ways instead of having to explain that to somebody. I mean, I don't think that would, explain, oh, my penis shrunk because I take medication. I don't think that would be your first conversation with that individual. If they love you or they like you for who you are, and they know nothing about that because it's the first time that they're meeting you. And you're building that relationship. So, he even goes on to discuss how he sees women near his age, and he'll, when he wants to go and talk and cuddle, he'll also, see them, just do that, and not even be able to get off, to get, have an orgasm, get stimulated. And it's times when he doesn't even try. So, but the whole thing is he's concerned about the size and shrinkage of his penis. Well, continual masturbation and, getting yourself off, or at least having somebody get you off, is a way in which to kind of sort of build that back up. So I really believe that you should be doing that, even if you go home and jerk off, masturbate, whatever you want to call it, play with your willy, your pecker, you might want to do that. Obviously feeling a nice pair of firm breasts, and, put your finger, he even talks about putting his finger up, a really tight hole, meaning anus, of a woman. He enjoys giving the oral, and he feels that if he uses that and does that, he's not going to get any complaints. But I think there's more to that than you think. Obviously, like I said, yes, medication takes effects on your genitals and your sexual drive. However, masturbating and things like that, and there's so much stuff out there right now that could help you. Constant masturbation actually exercises it back out. So you might want to talk with your doctor regarding that, and not have a self-pity party, basically. Another individual who is bisexual, obviously from out of the country, and this individual actually started seeing sex workers in their teens, because they were struggling so badly with their sexuality, and being attracted to teenage boys, especially when you're a teenager, it's kind of hard. Thought never get a girlfriend before the, obviously before the internet, now that it's so more open and everything. This is where, it takes away that initial confrontation and the initial being humiliated if you approach a girl in a social area. And obviously she's there with her friends or whatever, and basically you walk up to her and, try to talk to her, and she's not interested. She's going to, that humiliation right there will put you back. So, having this dating sex online is a little bit more easier. He would go to, gay saunas, if you wanted to have sex with a guy, or a massage parlor. And this is all in his head, where he's bisexual, but couldn't understand why he was really attracted at that time to both, men and female, and not thinking that he'd ever get a female. obviously, due to this increase in technology, a lot of the stuff, like outside, like the massage parlors and going to the bars and doing all of that, has declined. And he's moved on to using the S-Cut or listing sites. So, and his preference is bisexual couples, so obviously he's probably become one, which is go for it. And it's funny because he states how he uses sex workers because he has no relationship, no talent for relationship, but will use this and will pay quite often in order to have that feeling. So that being said, I am taking the last break in the show for today. So, completely up to you if you want to go get a drink or a snack or even replenish what you had. You can stay right where you are, comfortable as a pea in a pod or hands in your pants. And I will return and meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, with a topic about sex. It's from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back to the final segment in the show for today. And we are talking about BDSM, dominant, and how it's gone into technology and all that good stuff, and why, you'll have mainly men, not so much women, paying for sex, and, how many times it is all intertwined with a sex worker. And there are some dominatrix secrets out there. And these are from typical clients from every sex worker has come across. So, obviously, doesn't matter, men and or women of every size, shape, color, culture, you name it, they visit sex workers. Now, this one sex worker gives us some typical examples of what clients she has encountered, and basically they're really funny. She is hilarious. Obviously, there are a lot of people that think that a plus size sex worker that there is a mutual, they herd together and there's a mutual safety there. That is so totally wrong in all aspects, and I don't need a dominatrix to tell me that. But she would get a lot of individuals that were, oversized, and hey, they want it too. Go for it. They would always ask, specifics like were they married? Did they have girlfriends? What did they do for a living? And obviously you can't exactly go. It was really impossible to answer those questions. This is not how she greets somebody with a questionnaire and, this intention and all of this. Because an individual will see a dominatrix it could be as little as once a year to probably more than that during the year. But for the most part, this person is basically seeking out a sex worker or dominatrix for a little bit of BDSM in there and submissiveness, so that because they are fulfilling a portion in their sex life that they have not found somebody who is equal in that and wants it. They're out there, they're just not in the sense that they want them. However, she, basically states that you can guarantee that the sex worker will have, that every sex worker will have the same types of clients. I actually can believe her saying this, because why would somebody be going to a sex worker? Because this is their job. And I have kudos for them for doing such. So you can't give all that extreme information out because they don't know it. These people are just calling up to basically tell me what to do. I'm your submissive for today. Or they're doing it through the internet. And, that's how it's going. But the first type of client that comes up is the non-expert. Now, a lot of questions. The most basic question that this particular sex worker would get is, you like that, huh? It's not as a question, it's more as a statement. And it's basically telling her this is what you like. So obviously asking that question is because this is the only way that this individual can get their rocks off, by thinking he's amazing in bed. When really all you have done is delivered a few sloppy snogs. I love her analogies, they are so funny. While rubbing her clit in a style that makes obviously that individual think he is a genie to pop out of her vagina. Love it, love it, love it. Men, you may be confident in thinking that you are all that in the bed. I'm sure there are a lot of people that could probably tell you you are not. So, next one is the telepath. Oh, I don't even really think I need to explain how she describes this. But, obviously, she gets this statement posed to her of, I want to try something I've never done before, while never having any intention of telling me what that might be. They can't think for you. You gotta at least tell them what you want to try. How about posing that statement and actually putting in what you want to try? I mean, there you go. I can't explain that any different than that. They're not mind readers. They are trying to give you what you want sexually, or at least a little bit more, and dominate you to do the things that you would not do on your own. However, they are not mind readers and cannot tell what you want done. So, then you have the one who is the bashful one. They have an idea in mind of what they want to do. However, it's kind of a mixture of the telepath, where they're not exactly stating what they want because they're too bashful to say it. So they're basically leaving it up to the dominatrix to figure out what it is. And unfortunately, that does not work. And that particular person, the bachelor one, will stay quiet for the longest time. And it's very difficult to figure out, because we are not, these individuals, these sex workers are not, and this even goes for your partner. Yes, you may in time been with your partner for a very long time, but still, partners can't read your minds. You gotta tell us what you want. You gotta. It comes down with this bashful client that all he wanted to do was to lick her feet with a dildo up her anus. So, and dance around wearing women's stockings while to the disco band Boney M. I love the way she puts this. She's like so funny. The haggler, come on, trying to look for a discount or to haggle their price down for the sex. So, and it's like, what is the best price you can do? It's like, what? We didn't know we were haggling. This is the price. This is how it's going, and this is how she's explaining this, which is really, really cool. She even states, how do men not realize that asking a woman this is not only highly insulting, but also gives away everything you need to know about this guy? So, guys, you go in there, you think you are Joe Cool. Unfortunately, you're giving yourself away. However, you do get blacklisted off of the lovely sexual listing there. The next type of client she discusses is the hobbyist. With this particular client, they will make no bones about the fact that their visit to the sex worker is their passion, obsession, and their hobby. You get this person who will walk in and tell the dominatrix or the sex worker about their latest experiences, and then ask if they know this particular person. And then they go on to continue talking about other sex workers that they have been with. Not a wise choice there. Unfortunately, if that's who you want, according to her, she even states it, if that's who you want, go to them. It is, she doesn't care who you've seen other than her. So, hobbyists, think about that one before going in there, because there's going to be that one sex worker that's going to turn around and, just turn you down. You might need that severe dominatrix submissive relationship on the internet, and where they control remote access to you, because you need a little bit of controlling there. And that's where it was with that. A lot is, one of the questions she's been posed with is, do you fall in love with clients? I love the fact that she says no. However, you sometimes, I know that if this is, she's a dominatrix and that's her job, sex has become the thing in the back where you don't even think about. However, where you don't have any controls over your emotions, unless of course you're with somebody already, but for the most part, that's kind of hard because you're going to come across somebody. Everybody is human for the most part and has human relations or relation feelings or feelings in general, unless you have a mental health issue that is really interfering with those emotions. In that case, go please get it checked out. Now, she talks about the typical client that she receives. However, that is very, very broad because there really isn't one. There is no typical client. Obviously, as a sex worker, there is this preconception of what kind of client goes to them and what they do and how they affect the person or what is it that they do. But there is no typical client. Clients come in every shape, size, and form. That is almost like asking who is a sex fiend or a criminal, and you could be the next person standing next to you in a three-piece suit that you would never have thought of. So there is no typical client when it comes to anything, actually. There might be an average of an age of individual who comes in, a particular thing about them that comes to the door, but there is no typical client. So, now it's really something where you need to look at it for yourself, and is it for you? And going to that, because obviously when it comes down to it, what are people considering dominatrix and you paying for sex? Unfortunately, our minds are very small, and it comes to that one word of prostitution. However, in a lot of states and a lot of countries, it is perfectly acceptable to pay for sex. And why not? Nevada is one of them. It is, because of the way it is now, it has become more acceptable, and they actually have the ranches, which are down there, and they have them probably in every state. We just don't know about it. But the more legalized and things that are states that are more open with it and stuff like that would be that. I mean, you go into Las Vegas, Nevada, and you go on to the Strip. It is all about the sex. It is, and they're sitting right there passing out flyers. So don't think that but the thing with it is, which is good, is these women or these males are actually getting, they have to make sure that they are in tip-top health condition, which is the positive. So if they actually thought about it here or there or anywhere else, this is probably the smartest thing, because this way they're not passing STDs or STIs, whichever you would like to call them, and they have to be physically healthy in order to provide the service to you. And having it organized this way is a way to have this done. So think about that. And on that note, this is the end of my show. So as always, please, please, please educate, communicate, and consent to anything that you are doing, especially new sexual tasks, or shall we say sexual endeavors. Do practice safe sex, if not for yourself, for your partner, and vice versa. I really would like to thank you again for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, which is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I do ask that you subscribe, download us in the podcast store, either in Apple Store or Google. Please leave us a very good review. And just to let you know that this helps me a lot. And it also helps the GSMC podcast network to know that we are bringing to you what you want to hear and learn. Also, I would ask that you reach out and find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because we are there. And hit that little heart or that little thumbs up and like us there. Please tweet us something or just post something to us. Let us know what you want to hear on the show. And with saying that again, I thank you for tuning in and have an awesome sex night anyway that you want it, because it is your sexual pleasure. But bye for now. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.